Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Oja Adeshiva and today in this video I will talk about Elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray was 18th century English poet, letter writer and classical scholar. He was born in 1716 and he died in 1771. He was professor at Pembroke College, Cambridge University. He was very self-critical and only published 13 poems during his lifetime. He is considered as transitional poet. Transitional poets are the precursor of Romanticism. He is also considered as graveyard poet. These are the poets who found inspiration in graveyards and contemplate on the mortality. In 1757, he was offered a poet laureate post, but he declined it. Apart from Elegy written in a country churchyard, he also wrote some other poems like Ode on the Spring, Ode to a Distant Prospect of Eton College, The Progress of Poesy, The Bard, The Fatal Sisters, etc. What is an elegy? Elegy is a formal and sustained lament in a verse for the death of a particular person, usually ending in a consolation. While studying at Eton College, Gray made three close friends: Horace Walpole, Thomas Ashton, and Richard West. Richard West died in 1742, which inspired him to write Elegy and also inspired him to meditate on his own mortality. He composed this elegy while he was staying near St. Giles Parish Church, and when he died, he was also buried in the same church. He finished this poem in 1750 and published it in 1751. The elegy is written in iambic pentameter and heroic quatrain. So let's discuss the short summary of this elegy. Thomas Gray's Elegy written in a country churchyard is a very famous elegy among all the graveyard poems. It meditates on the obscure destinies of the unknown and undistinguished villagers buried in the country churchyard. Elegy begins with a quatrain that gives us a picture of evening. The curfew mournfully tolling the end of the day. The herd of animals are slowly going toward the field of grass. Tired farmer is coming home. In the succeeding stanzas, Elegy goes into the churchyard itself. The rugged elms and yew tree gives shade to the cell, and near the churchyard there is a decaying heap of turf, means small grass. The uneducated ancestors of the villagers have been buried in this simple churchyard, covered with various natural objects. They are described respectfully as sleeping in their narrow cells, meaning in their graveyards. No sounds can wake them now because they are dead. Poet talks about the everyday activities of this village people which they are now unable to do. Poet depicts the simple household pleasures and life of the villagers that are buried in the graveyard. In the succeeding stanza, poet asks ambitious or rich people not to laugh at the unuseful action of these farmers and at their obscure destinies. These ambitious and rich people should not hear the farmer's simple tale with disdainful smile. In the next stanza, poet invokes the idea of memento mori, means everyone is going to die one day. Poet reminds us that being rich or powerful will not save you from death. It will come eventually to everybody. The boast of heraldry and pomp of power, all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave, ever it's like the inevitable hour, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. These are very famous lines from this elegy. The poet asks the question that can a storied urn or animated bust bring back the dead person? Or can flattery and honor bring that decaying body back to life? Further in the poem, poet brings out these rude forefathers as people who could have achieved a lot if they were given chance. Because of poverty, they could not get the knowledge, so their greatness remains unknown to the world. Just as unseen flower in the desert is waste, like that the talent of these villagers is also waste because it remained unused. If these villagers had the power and they could have got the education, they can become someone like John Hampden, Milton, or Oliver Cromwell. Further in the poem, Gray states that because of poverty and their poor destinies, they cannot become like powerful leaders. But it also prevents them from committing crime to gain the political power. Like Oliver Cromwell, who during the Civil War killed King Charles I and so many people. They are far from the madding crowd of the political and city life. They have their simple desires and simple life. Far from the madding crowd is also a novel of Thomas Hardy which was published in 1874. In the churchyard, to respect the dead person, the poor monuments are built. But the poorly rhymed quotes teaches rustic moralist to live his life peacefully. Gray thinks that since he has remembered these farmers, these forefathers in his poem, who will remember him when he will die? The poet then imagines his own death. He imagines one kindred spirit who will inquire about the poet. The evening scene has been now replaced with the morning. The poet becomes the part of the same churchyard. A white headed rustic farmer gives the news of the death of the poet. An elegy ends with poet's epitaph. The last three stanzas are the epitaph of the poem. The poet wants him to remember not as wealthy, famous, or educated, but someone who is deep melancholic. His soul was sincere, and heaven gave him a friend who could mourn for him after his death. The poet concludes the elegy by saying not to praise him any further or disclose his frailties. It should be left to the care of God. Here, poet imagines himself as having become one with the other humble people sleeping in the graveyard. And this is the end of this elegy written in a country churchyard. If you like this poem, video, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.